I was going to grow up and become a pro surfer because I started surfing at such a young age. Like I was getting pushed into waves like before I could even walk. And so as what we would call in Australia, like a primary school student, like before you go to high school, so before the age of 12, I was pretty much, like one of the only surfers. And then once I got to 10, 11, there was like other kids that started surfing. Then once I got to high school, probably a third of all the boys in the school surfed. And at that point, when I was about 12 years old, my ambitions to become a pro surfer just disappeared almost overnight.
Really?
Yeah, and it was because I think some people are just born with like natural ability as an athlete. And I mean, fuck, man, I got 2 left feet. Hey, on land, I'm like a Gumby.
You and me both.
I mean, seriously,
here.
I couldn't
kick on land.
I couldn't kick a ball. I couldn't fucking hit a ball with a cricket bat. I mean, I was just pretty uncoordinated as a kid.
Yeah.
And even now, like even 5 years ago, a guy came up to me and he said, "Man, I can't believe you're the same guy. like I see you walking around and you're like a bit of a dunderclumping, but when you go out and get on a surfboard." Fuck, it's like you're another person.
I have had the exact same thing said to me too. What's it about being tall and goofy, maybe?
I don't know, maybe that's what it is, I just kind of, this tall, gangly physique and so on. But surfing, look, it really did come natural. Like, I was good at it because I just always did it and I never knew anything else. But once I got to the age of like 12... and I saw other kids who in the space of like a year were like surfing better than me or as good as me. And I'm like, man, how does that work? I've been surfing 10 years. They've been surfing a year and they're that good already. And then I'm like, well, I can't see myself making it as a pro surfer. When I see kids with natural athletic ability just surpassing me really quickly. But I was also already making surfboards. So, like, I had a dabble at the age of 7. I had Coolite boards that I would surf. And I had a couple of average ones, and then I got these really good ones. They were made under a few different brands. One was called a Surfer Sam. And the other one was called a Little Ripper. And it was kind of almost like a modern shape, shortboard outline, clean flat bottom. It had edges. It had like a molded fin. I mean, the board actually went. And I was surfing this board at the age of 7, snapped it. Mum gets me another one a month later. I snapped that.
Devastating.
And she's just like, fuck, I'm not getting you another one, okay? That's it. And I'm like, oh, man, what am I going to do? But I had this other... like longboardy 4-inch thick thing that was supposed to resemble a short little stumpy longboard. I mean, it just didn't function. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my grandfather. I'm going to get a big woodworking rough rasp and I'm going to start shaving foam off this thing. And I'm going to try and make it look like my Little Ripper, kind of trying to turn a longboard into a shortboard. And the crazy thing is, I mean, I kind of destroyed it basically, but I did change the shape of it.
Yeah.
And I remember going out and surfing it, and it was like, well, it actually went better. It didn't go as good as my Little Rippers.
It didn't suck.
But it didn't suck. Like, it actually went better than it was, but it wasn't as good as the boards I broke. And at that point, I had this realization that if the shape of your board changes, it changes the performance characteristics. And so that was a little bit of a light bulb moment. And then luckily, I think maybe a year later, Mum got me a glass board. My uncles, because we lived in a beach house. Like literally you could throw a stone from our house and hit the water's edge. So we lived right on the beach. And so my cousins and other relatives would also leave their boards laying under our house. So when they came to visit on weekends, their boards were there. So I was basically like sneaking their boards out and surfing them. And then what was happening was I was damaging them. So then I'm like, Mum, can you like buy some resin? And you know, because I kind of like felt like I was obliged to try and like cover up my tracks.
And made it a little worse, maybe.
So then I do these really botched up, dodgy repairs on my uncles and cousins'
Was there
boards.
smoke coming off?
Nah,
too much
not quite. It
catalyst
wasn't
or
that
anything?
bad. I learned that mistake a few years later. So then after about a year, there was like this posse rolls up one day, and it was like, you know, one of my cousins, two of my uncles, and one of my uncles says, "Sis, you got to get him aboard, okay?" Mm-hmm. And so that was it. So I got a glass board when I hit about 9. Nice. And then, so it kind of, and I always watched, you know, I had the concept of resin because I watched my uncles tinker. Yeah. You know, they were always digging their boards, fixing them. They were doing rebuilds, putting halves together, changing fins, you know. So I kind of knew what resin did, and I knew that you could use it to fix boards and change boards. So, so I got a little bit of an introduction to surfboards and surfing, you know, from my family. So, you know, started tinkering with shape 7, started doing repairs 9, started building boards when I was 12. And the first board I built was, I think it was an old G&S. It was like, you know, when people throw stuff out on the side of the road. Got the G&S. It was kind of dinged up and unsurfable, but I saw potential in there. So stripped the glass off it, cut the fin off it, ground the fin down. Mum had an old sheet she was throwing out, like an old cotton bed sheet.
And you...
and I think I had a little bit of pocket money saved, went to the hardware store. I think I paid $11 for a tin of resin. And basically, like, stripped the glass off, made a new shape, and then glassed it with a cotton bed sheet.
No way.
And resin. Put the fin back on, and I was in year 8 at the time, and I thought it was, 1980, 1981, and the thruster wasn't really in yet.
Yeah. It was that year, 81, was really when it really started to take off.
Most guys were still riding either single fins, twin fins, or there was another thing which was quite common. It was called a drifter. So it was basically a single fin with 2 little stabilizers.
Right.
It was kind of like, it was a 3-fin board.
Almost Widowmaker-ish.
Yeah, I don't know. What is a Widowmaker?
It's Dave Parmenter. He has the 2 side fins and 1 big middle fin. Kind
of like a Bonza.
Yeah.
With just 2 little front fins and a big tail fin. Yeah, so I went to school. I kind of snuck into the plastics department, found a few bits of plastic, kind of quickly ground them up and put them in my pocket, ran out. You know, next day, glassed them on my board.
Nice.
And so I kind of started with that, and I surfed it. And it was a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not work.
Yeah, that's it. And then it kind of just went from there. It was like, well, I created something. I'll make another one. And then my second board, I literally wasn't even finished yet. Like, friends would come around from school and go, fuck, look what Bert's making. This is pretty cool. And then literally before I even finished it, another kid who I'd actually started surfing with a few years earlier came around and he said, hey, I'll give you $40 for it. I'm like, really? $40? I'm like, hang on. Thing cost me $5 for the blank, $11 for the resin, this and that. I'm like, fuck, I almost double my money here.
If only the teachers knew. They could have kept you in school, you know? What would have attracted you to the math and the business there?
Yeah, so he came around and he offered me $40 for the board before it was even done. And I'm like, deal, done, come around, pick it up tomorrow, it'll be finished. And then 2 days later, I'm down out at my local surf break and I see this kid surfing the board.
Nice.
I'm like, wow, unreal. And I go, where'd you get that from? He goes, I bought it from Murray. I go, how much did you pay? He said, $70. And I'm like, what the fuck? But that's the kind of start of the manufacturer-retailer relationship, you know. Those guys almost double their money, and I'm almost breaking even, and that's the way it works in this business.
And that's the way it's been ever since.
That's pretty much all it.
Yeah. So then who took you under the wings at TNC at that age? I mean, was there any mentor, anyone that really, like, helped set you off in a direction for experimentation?
Far out. Okay. The guy's name was Twig. Okay,
It's a great name.
Yeah, his name was Twig.
Good place to start.
Commonly referred to as Twiggy or Twig.
Yeah.
His name was Kevin Sharland. Yeah, he was a top guy. Look, rest in peace. He actually passed away back in 2004. Speculation over his death. Some say he was murdered. Some say it was a drug-induced coma. But basically, when he passed away, he was actually a photographer. He was paid by Billabong to follow Taj Burrows around.
Wow.
And basically wound up dead on a beach in France in 2004.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
God.
But look, he was like so when I went to work at TNC, I basically like started off like all kids do, sweeping, cleaning the shaping bay, and then you progress from there onto maybe cutting out fins or wet rubbing some boards, essentially repairs and so on. He was the ding repairer, so I sort of came in under him. And then I went on to work over the years with Twig at a few different places. So and Twig's thing was, I mean, the guy was harsh. Like, seriously, if I did bad work, it was physical punishment.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like slap?
Well, there was two different punishments. One was like, I don't know what that's called. We call it a cork in Australia, where you get that knuckle and you just ram it into the arm muscle here. All right? And the other one was a solid knee to the side of the leg.
Oh, yeah, dead leg.
Right. So what would happen is if he found any work that I did which was unsatisfactory, for starters, he would just press it, ding it, kill it, find all the weak spots, and just kind of ruin my work. All right? To prove to me that it was unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there was physical pain. Yeah.
Can you imagine millennials dealing with that today?
Yeah, and so, like, honestly, it didn't take me long to basically start delivering perfect work.
Well, yeah. You got tired of getting dead-legged and pegged in the arm.
Yeah, and he used to do other crazy shit. Like, I'd be working, and if he saw that I was making a mistake, but hitting me while I was working with resin or something was just going to make things worse, he would actually start pissing on my leg.
Well, I mean, I guess it's better than being tied to the flagpole and have poo thrown on you like they did in Narrabeen, but hey.
Yeah, so I'm sort of working away, and next minute I can just feel like something warm, like running down the side of my leg, and then I'm just like, okay, he's telling me I'm fucking up. But because if you knock someone or push someone, obviously you could make things really bad.
Yeah.
So he was pretty loose in his own way. But he just had a super high standard. Like it was perfect or nothing. Wow. And he used to say to me, look, you're not here to earn money. You're here to learn a craft. And when you're the best in your business, you'll make money.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It's really good advice.
Yeah.
It's what a lot of people, I think, lack today, that kind of attitude in some ways. Who introduced you to epoxy and working with epoxy and EPS foam? And because this has become like your life's work in some ways.
Yeah, look, that... So I start off around 83, working for Town and Country. I basically only did like a year there.
Yeah.
Then at the end of 84, I moved down the coast. Like it was like metropolitan area Perth.
Yeah.
So I was working at